On Thursday morning, a man later identified as Floyd Ray Roseberry ended up having a 5-hour standoff with police in Washington, D.C. So this guy sat in his pickup truck and he claimed to have a bomb. He claimed that other people spread throughout the city had bombs, and that, if they didn't acquiesce to his demands, that he was going to set them off. So now he said all this while he was live streaming in the open on Facebook. And of course, his demand was simple. He wanted Joe Biden and a bunch of Democrats to resign. Now, yet, according to Fox News, later on, after news was disseminated about this and the standoff had actually ended, so just to give you context of where this was in the news cycle in the day, you had a Fox News reporter, Jackie Ibañez, during a break in the middle of Ingraham, right? Ingram's Angle or whatever, that show on Fox News, saying this about the whole situation.
Meanwhile, a man claiming to have a bomb in his truck near the U.S. Capitol surrendered after an hours-long standoff. Law enforcement did not find a bomb in the vehicle, but say they collected possible bomb-making materials. So far, no word on a possible motive. I'm Jackie Ibañez. Now back to the Ingraham Angle.
All right. Okay. So I realize she's like supposed to be doing like straight news, but you don't see a motive. Nothing. Not at all. Not after knowing the live stream. No word on possible motive. The guy literally did a live stream during the whole time where he said, Joe Biden, step down. Other Democrats, step down, resign. You're not the real president. I will detonate this thing that I have. I will hurt a lot of people. That's what he said. He said, quote, you step down out of office, I'll step down out of this truck. You go home, I'll go to federal prison. How is that not clear as day? Fox News. I know. Whoa, straight reporting, right? No, this is irresponsible as hell. The motive was political. You could have mentioned some, suggestions that the motive may have been political. We'll have more details when we have more details or when more comes out. But instead, they have no motive. No motive. When the motive was clearly political, which of course makes this person a terrorist. Unlike Joe Biden, unlike Democrats, blame Joe Biden for the ills of the country. And of course, it supported Donald Trump, voted for Donald Trump, called for a revolution, a violent revolution, also ranted about coinage, giving Afghans and immigrants free health care while he does not have health care, went after, again, even Greta Thunberg, and yet somehow Fox News says, well, it's not about politics. And he said himself, but this isn't political. Oh, really? Well, here's a quote from his live stream. I don't care if Donald Trump ever becomes president again. I think y'all Democrats need to step down. Y'all need to understand people don't want you there. I got picked by the American effing people to come up here and take a stand. I got chose for the job, unlike you. So understand that's political motive because he's referencing the big lie. The big lie, of course, is that Joe Biden stole the election from Donald Trump. That's not true. But if you listen to conservative media, if you're aware, look, there's a reason Fox News, OAN, Newsmax are all getting sued by Dominion as well as Smartmatic, makers of these voting machines, okay, and the software. OAN, Fox News, The Pillow Guy, Newsmax, Donald Trump, they all spread this big lie that those machines, thanks to China or the ghost of Hugo Chavez or Italy for some reason or Venezuela, Vuvuzela, it doesn't matter, right? Insert person you hate here, and that's who stole the election. But yet they can't seem to figure out a motive over on Fox News. It's really weird. Really weird. So let me give you more details into his possible political motivations. And let's see where we end up, right? Because, and this is to kind of get ahead of where a right-winger is going to inevitably call him either a CIA plant or Antifa. Because it's going to happen. Here's what he believes in politically, all right? So let me just show you some of his Facebook likes. All right. Okay. White Lives Matter. Look at that. I can't tell what side he's on. U.S. Patriot News. American immigration reform. Okay. Defense of freedom. A couple of those views. All right. And there's more. Some of his posts include a regular array of right-wing white nationalist talking points that include anger of transgender people being allowed into the military. So you got some anti-trans views there. You have references to black on black and black on white crime. That's something Tucker Carlson has talked a lot about on his show. Views, of course, that are anti-mask and general anti-Democratic Party or anti-liberal or leftist sentiments. But you can't find a motive for any of this, can you, Fox News? That's super weird. Very strange. Very strange. Yes. But one more thing to add. So the man had some valid complaints of the American healthcare system. Now, this is interesting. So now Emily Gorchensky points this out in a Twitter thread by saying that the grievances of these right-wing militants sometimes have a grounding in reality. In this case, healthcare coverage denial. But they often mix this with ridiculous conspiracy theories, and that is something to remember. Now, the irony again of that entire thing is that the man is against socialism or leftists or Democrats who would try to get healthcare, to try to get people like him healthcare or health insurance. But that gets to the greater point of why Fox News can't seem to locate a motive when it's literally right in front of their faces. It's because they don't want to admit that their rhetoric, their programming, had a part in radicalizing this guy. Everything he talked about were literal talking points you would see in conservative media. And that might be embarrassing. I mean, already you have people being looked into, people like Mo Brooks, for example, being looked, and Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani as well. They're being looked into for, maybe having a hand in radicalizing some of these people, like, for example, on January 6th, and inciting them to violence. Conservative media. But if they did that, if they had any sort of self-reflection, then they'd have to admit that, our rhetoric actually made someone become a right-wing terrorist. And by the way, that's where most of the terrorism comes from, the vast majority, the far right. They have an extremist problem over in the Republican Party, over on conservatives, and they continue to push rhetoric and conspiracies that spur people like this, who do have clear issues and even some valid critiques of the system, into becoming near right-wing martyrs and doing violence. The man opened about, he was open about starting, wanting this to start a revolution. Now, on the right, that's usually code for one thing: race war, keeping it real. And with the way he talks about immigrants, there was no question in my mind that was one of the end goals. He was clearly a disturbed person, radicalized by right-wing media, and became a terrorist. And the reason they're, again, not saying any motive is I think that they don't want to admit that. And by the way, now they might have their excuse. And so I want to keep watch if this happens over the next few days, because it's definitely possible that they'll start using this excuse. First, this comes from NBC's Tom Lynch, who spoke with Roseberry's wife. So now he detailed that conversation in a series of tweets and said, well, Roseberry's wife told me that her husband left North Carolina last night and said he was going on a fishing trip. She said her husband has been upset at the result of the presidential election and voted for the first time in his life for President Trump. She added that her husband, and this is the important part, recently struggled with mental health issues and had recently changed medication. Oh, see, it's a mental health issue. It's not a terrorism issue. No, it's a mental health issue. I mean, he's white, so of course it's mental health. However, a black person or Muslim, terrorism. Come on. But here's the thing. Yes, we need mental health care. We need Medicare for all. But see, here's the thing. The right wing constantly gets in the way of that, constantly attacks progressives. And I say right wing in the context of the Republican Party, but also conservative Democrats in the Democratic Party. They constantly get in the way of socialized medicine, which ironically could have helped this man and his family. And by the way, the right wing also attacks the most powerless, marginalized people in this country, immigrants, LGBTQ folks, and more. And so that is right wing propaganda. It taking powerless people and using them to turn them against the very people that might actually want to help them. And that's really the biggest tragedy of the entire right-wing disinformation bullshit machine that is media. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.